A report by Gizmodo says several journalists hired as news curators were routinely asked to suppress conservative news at Facebook. They were also asked to insert news into the trending section on Facebook, even if that particular news wasn't trending. A spokesperson for Facebook has told BuzzFeed that they are taking these allegations very seriously, but they do not outright deny that they've censored stories from Breitbart and the Drudge Report in their trending topics section. So I have some things to say about this. What do you guys think? Russ, let's start with you. What do you think about this news?
I think this is a bombshell. Having worked in internet media for 10 years, I can't tell you how much energy and how much money has gone into from websites has gone into trying to guess how these algorithms work and get content actually onto Facebook, where more and more people are consuming web content these days. It's no secret that Facebook has been taking over, more and more share of the way people find content on the web. It's almost like, I know Reddit calls itself the front page of the internet, and maybe for a certain demographic it is, but for more or less everyone else, Facebook is the front page of the internet. So just the idea that those results are being tweaked by humans in and of itself is massive. That basically means that what Facebook has been telling us about how these algorithms work is kind of, I don't know, is lie too strong of a word? I guess that's more kind of accurate though, right? And then the idea that these editors, which is what they are actively suppressing certain stories. It's huge. I'm blown away by this.
What's the difference between what Facebook is doing with its trending kind of section and what TechMeme does on a daily basis? I mean, that's human curated as well, right? There are people behind the scenes of TechMeme that are pulling it's a decision. It's an active decision made by someone to say this is an important enough news topic to feature on our site. How are they different? What would you say to that, Russ?
I don't think it's different at all. I think the only difference is in how Facebook has presented what it's doing. And I think ultimately there's no difference from what Facebook is doing to what any news outlet will do. Facebook doesn't have journalists working for it, or at least as far as we know. But, that's how news organizations work, is there's people in charge. There's a masthead full of people who have opinions and political leanings, and they generate news and curate it based on how they see the world. To hear that that's what Facebook is doing, in a way, isn't surprising, because that's how news is curated. But it is surprising because Facebook has never acknowledged that it does this.
Well, yeah, see, that's the thing. I've been hearing grumblings about this. Like, I think somebody posted, like Facebook is hiring journalists. Like, what does that mean? And then it's like someone else said, like, well, if you're working for Facebook in this way, you're not really a journalist. So I think that's part of it. They were hiring people to make a decision. So then you have bias. I mean, if you have a person making a decision, you have bias. We have bias. Like every day, like there's no computer that picks the stories that we pick every day. It's our bias. And so, I mean, to some extent, it's like, well, you want to listen or you don't. You get that to choose that. But we are also not Facebook. We're not, are
presenting it as one thing and it ends up being another. I mean, the flip side to this, just to play the devil's advocate, is that even if it's decided by a computer, doesn't necessarily mean that it's unbiased either.
Exactly.
Algorithms are created by humans, and as such, the code, all the code that goes into there, the numbers that are chosen to create that code, all that's decided initially by someone, and there's an inherent bias to that as well, to how the computer makes its selections and weighs different options and says this is more important than this. I mean, there's a human behind that.
Yeah, or Google search is biased. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, things get removed and someone at Google gets to make that choice. I mean, it's very seldom, but they do. And, that's just something we have to accept, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's more to this story coming, probably.
For sure. Yeah, and it's been bubbling for a little bit. I think news kind of first started. I think there was an initial Gizmodo article last Thursday or whatever, and then it just kind of, snow. You didn't know whether it was just going to be done there or snowball over the weekend, which is exactly what it's been doing. It does kind of point out something that's, another thing that's worth talking about in this regard, which is that companies like Facebook and Google, similar to what you're saying, they have intense influence over a lot of people, whether they, and I'm sure they do, but whether they realize it or not, and whether we realize it or not. Like, here's kind of an irrational, I realize, but disconcerting realization that I had. So Facebook tailors who you see in your feed based on how you use it. So they're actively making a decision who you're in touch with and who you care about versus not. Facebook tailors the news that you read on trending. If you're really tied into the Facebook reality distortion field, if you want to call it that, over time, Facebook basically can, to a certain degree, influence who you are and what you care about. You know, not only just the news that you follow, but also the people that you care about. If you don't know that, you know, Joe Schmo is going into surgery on Thursday because Facebook didn't tell you, that could affect your relationship with them if you've put all of your eggs into Facebook's basket. You know,
I don't think that's paranoid at all, Jason. I know they got into hot water a few years ago when they released the results of a study that they had been conducting internally to see if they could manipulate people's emotions through how they curated the site. I think the idea that a company that has acknowledged it plays with your emotions and how it curates its site, and it has not acknowledged that it actively curates what news shows up on your feed. I think there's some reason to be concerned there, and I would hope that what comes out of this story is at least some more transparency at Facebook about what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, the story is coming from these journalists that they hired. They were disgruntled, I think, and they can't, you know.
You also have to question the source, I'm sure.
They didn't like the way they were being treated. I guess from what I've read, they thought they were like just sort of being like, okay, well, how does this work? This doesn't work. Let's hire some robots instead. You know.
Right. Well, not to mention like their work, whatever they were hired to do, was kind of essentially, from what this detailed, anyways, it was kind of the short road to perfecting the computer behind the scenes to know what the AI can choose going forward. So they were basically teaching the robot that would replace them, essentially. The future.